welcome to Lucy's Big Beautiful World of Painting. Today I have a painting that I'm going to be doing based on a painting from one of my longtime students, Janet Jackson. Yes, that's her real name, Janet Jackson. She's an instructor, a Wilson Bickford certified instructor. She's a one-stroke certified instructor and a Grumbacher instructor, Grumbacher, sorry. And she did a really nice layout on a painting that she taught in acrylic, and I asked her if I could take her layout and do it in oil paint. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. She's located down in Brick, New Jersey, at the Jersey Shore. So the colors are going to be, I'm going to say them as I'm going along, so I can just get going here and start painting. And what I've done in preparation is I have took a plate at home, and I just traced around the plate with a pencil and just drew in these lines. And we're going to be doing a pretty beach umbrella today. I put a piece of blue tape across, so my horizon line would be straight, and especially that I'm painting her on the side, a lot of times it's hard to get that horizon line straight. And just a little line at the bottom where my beach would be. All right, so she used some very, very, very pretty colors. Mine will not be the same as hers, but I want to thank her for letting me use her layout today, okay? And when you get a chance, you can look her up. Now, I'm going to take my scenery brush, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this very rich phthalo blue. Okay, beautiful color. I'm tapping it into my Wilson Bickford brush, and going to start to paint. Here we go. I'm going to start up at the sky, the top of the sky, and I'm going to go right across. Look at that rich color. I also should mention that I did lubricate this canvas very lightly with my Pro Oil. This way the paint will smooth on. Now Janet made her painting very dark, which I really liked because when she put her umbrella on, it really showed out nicely. Going back, getting a little more paint. Oh, my red is dripping a little bit over there. That's okay. So just going back and forth with this one. And you can hear I'm rubbing it in. And there we go. What a pretty color. Now I'm going to do this whole top part in this blue. And you can see I'm smoothing it. You can probably hear it, rubbing it in. So I'm kind of blending as I'm painting. I'm going to leave this side a little bit opened. I'm going to put a little bit of Ivory Black in there and make it darker on that left side. Just mimicking Janet's painting a bit. Going to go right over the umbrella. I liked her design because it had this big umbrella and the perspective of it was really nice. There we go. So you can see, I'm just rubbing it in, rubbing it in. I keep going back to my palette and tapping the paint in for an even distribution in the brush. And that helps a little bit when I'm painting. In a bit, then I'll go and I'll lift off this tape and we can paint the umbrella. For now, I'd like to do a nice dark sky. And that is a really, really pretty color. Okay? This painting is great because you can really do it any color. You can even put sunspot in there and some pinks, whichever color you want. I'm going to make it even darker. So I'm just tapping again, and there we go. Look at that. Really dark streak. I'm going to rub that in. That gives the sky a nice uneven look. Maybe like there's some dark clouds someplace in the background. Now, I'm just going to tap in again into my phthalo blue. I'm going to come over a little bit into the Ivory Black. Now, if this is a little dry, I can get out some of my oil and I can put some oil on there, and we'll see once I get it on there. And it's a little dry. Let me see if I can manage to get a little more in the brush. There we go. Tap, tap, tap. I'm just tapping the paint in. You can see how I'm tapping it. And I want to put some dark on this side. There we go. So give it a little variation so it looks like it's just dark. And again, you can still hear it. Now you can see when I am rubbing that the paint is going into the tooth of the canvas. And I'm going to rub another way and then rub back and forth again. And I want to have a nice graduation of color between it. But you can see a little bit of dark on that side, just to give it a little extra pow there on the side. And I see a little damage in my canvas. I'll just put some paint on there and cover that up. There we go. Okay, So now that we have that sky done, I'm going to peel this paint off just so it's a little easier so you can see where I'm going with this. I'm sorry, not the paint, the tape. And I'm going to try to get this tape off. And looks like I'm having trouble with the tape. There we go, I got the tape. All right, now you can see a little better which way we're going. Once that tape is off, then you can see a little bit better. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to take my bounce brush and put a few clouds in that sky. And my bounce brush is just a bristle brush made out of 3 rows of horsehair. And this brush was used as a utility brush to clean machinery and all. And I found another way to use it, okay? And I decided to call it my own and make it a bounce brush because I bounced the paint in the first little bit of the brush, a 1/4 inch or so. And it's a great beginner brush because you're bouncing the paint on. So I'm coming and I'm bouncing a lot of paint on. And I'm holding my fingers on these little indentations here. And I'm bouncing. So just want to give you the idea of how easy it would be to get some clouds in here. Now, I'm not worried about picking up some blue because it's a dark sky and it'll look really pretty once we start blending them together. I'm bouncing in a little more paint. I'll come over here and bounce in another cloud formation. Now, this is just the top of the cloud formation. I'm going to blend them with the whole brush after I bounce in the cloud tops, okay? So I'm just kind of seeing it in my mind's eye, which way that cloud might be going. No rhyme or reason to it. Clouds are all shapes and sizes. As we get a little closer to the horizon, they usually get a little smaller. They appear further in the distance. And just bouncing it in. I don't want to have a, any kind of a pattern. So I may come up here and make this one a little different and have it come off to the side. We definitely don't want a pattern, okay? Now, I have a few little clouds on there. Could even bring this right into this umbrella. And we'll see if that's enough paint in a minute. So, now that I have the top of the cloud formations on, I take the entire brush and I start to do circles and blend it in. And then you can see the pockets happening in the clouds. There we go. Very, very lightly blending in a circular motion. And I'm not going all the way up to the top of those clouds. We don't want to kind of burst to the top of the cloud. We just want to leave it as it is. There, nice and smooth. And I'll come over to this one. If you need to wipe out the brush, you can just wipe out the brush on a paper towel. But I am pushing a little bit hard because I do actually want to pick up some of that background color. There we go. This way we have a nice colored cloud. Some blue in it, light blue, dark blue. Nice values of blue in that clouds. There we go. And I can always go back to that even after the painting and put in more clouds or work on the ones I've already put in. And I like the way that looks soft. So if I decided I could actually come in and really crush that whole top of it. I want to anchor these a little more. I'm pushing a little harder to get them in there. All right, there we go. So we have a few clouds in there, okay? How easy it is to do with the bounce brush. All right, next, I'd like to put this water in. Now, I'll try my best to keep that horizon straight, and hopefully I will be able to keep it straight. So I'm going to use the same colors like I used, and I'll add a little white as we get closer down. Just going to come across. Now, the best way to do this is if you come across like this and pull the paint down. Now, it's a little dry here because this is where the tape was. So what I will do is I will take some of my medium, which is a combination of oils. It's safflower oil, walnut oil, and sun-bleached linseed oil. Now, this could drip a little bit, so I'll just put a couple drops at a time and try to hold my palette up a little bit straight. This way it doesn't drip. Okay, so I'm just dipping a little, going back into my paint. Hopefully you can see that, but all I did was dip my brush in, and it's going to loosen my paint up a bit. Okay, so now you can see it'll go on smoother. All right, so now I'm going to go straight across. I'm going to go a little bit faster. At home, when you're doing the horizon, you want to lay your brush flat, and I'm using the number 10 Wilson Bickford here, and you want to pull down You don't want to go straight across because then you will definitely make your horizon not straight again. So if you come this way and pull down, it's much easier to keep your horizon straight, because that's one thing, horizon is always straight. There was a beautiful master ocean painter, her name was Joyce Ortner, and that used to make her crazy when her horizon wasn't straight, and she would work on that horizon for as long as it took until it was perfect. And unfortunately, she passed away. She's a beautiful, wonderful ocean painter from California. All right, here we go. I am coming across, wiggling some of that paint off. And I can see that looks pretty straight, pretty straight. I'm going to come on the other side here. You can see the umbrella is going to start showing out more. There we go. Okay, so I got a little unstraight, but that's okay. I don't even know if that's a word, unstraight. I'll just make it up as I go along. Here we go. So I'm going to start blending. Now in here, like I said, it's a little dry because that's where the tape was. So I just dipped again in my medium, and there we go. Now I'm going to be painting side to side, and you can see I'm rubbing it in. This is going to make it look more and more like the ocean by rubbing it in like this. Okay, I'm on the chisel edge, then I'll go on the flat of the brush, which means the flat meaning this way, chisel edge meaning this edge right here. So I would hold it up, and that would be the chisel edge, and you can see the lining the chisel edge makes, okay? So I can do both and go back and forth. And I really like the colors of this so far. I love this color, and it goes well with so many other colors. So I'm just going to start rubbing this back and forth, and getting in this paint, and it is picking up my oil underneath. You can see that that is pretty smooth as I have my oil underneath, and that makes it much easier to move around. There we go. I'm just going to pick up some paint from up here because it looks like I had a little bit too much. So what I'm doing is I'm just rubbing the brush, and look, I'll just bring it right over. That's the beauty of oil paint. You can move that paint back and forth. And just blending as I'm going. There we go. Starting to look like an ocean, I bet already. I hope so anyway. I hope you'll be able to try some of my lessons at home. I only teach beginners, so anything that you see is a beginner painting, and you can stop and start and stop and start. You can write to me with your questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. I'm a certified instructor, certified Wilson Bickford instructor, and in the past I was a one-stroke certifying director, and I love to teach, and love to teach new students, and I love to see the students get excited about what they're doing, and especially when they say they can't believe that they did it, and then they bring home a beautiful painting. That makes me very happy to see students trying and learning and having art be a new hobby for them. All right, so you can see I'm back and forth again. This is a little bit time consuming. I'm going pretty fast here, and I hope that the water is starting to show now. I am purposely adding just the Phthalo Blue as I start to run out, because I want to have darks and lights, and by not adding straight color as I did up here, this is how I'm getting the darks and the lights. And you can hear the rubbing. Okay, I stopped talking for a second so you can hear that. And you'll see I'm like scrubbing it into the canvas right now. There we go. Now, down about here, I may start putting a little bit white and mixing that in as we get closer to the sand. Now, in Janet's original composition, she had a beach chair on the left side. I won't be able to put that beach chair in, but just to give you a couple ideas of when you're doing your beach, you can just print a couple pictures out from the computer and trace them and transfer them on. And you can put some shells. You can put a fence. If I have time, I'll show you a little fence. You can put some flip-flops, whatever is beachy, whatever you like. All right, I'm going to go in some white right now. Just going to make it a little lighter down here. See, I'm using the flat of the brush now. There we go. Just going to go around the sand a little bit. And that's going to be sand under there, and just made that a little bit whiter there. As it gets closer to the beach, the water usually is a little bit whiter than as you look into the water. All right, there we go. And I could smooth this out a little bit with a mop brush. I'm just going to step back a minute and take a peek. I need to be a couple feet away. And yeah, I think we got some good variation in there. Let me just try to whiten that one spot there. And that looks pretty good. So without washing my brush, I'm going to go into my burnt sienna. And I'll add a little bit of white to that burnt sienna. And I want to make like a sandy color. Nice. I'm going to dip a little bit of red just to see if I get like a pinky sand color. So maybe we're in the Caribbean today. I've been to Bermuda, and that sand color is pretty pink. All right, there we go. So let's see what we got here. Ah, there we go. We got a nice sand color. Now, I'm not worried about my lining here. I'm just going to kind of cover it a little bit. Hope to put some white foam on there. And there we go. I'm just going back and forth with the sand right now. And you can see I'm dipping in white and going back in here, so it gets variation of color. And again, the beauty of oil paint. You blend as you go and they mix together. And that's what I love about the oil paint. So you can see now I have some light brown, some dark brown, almost looks like a little pink here and there. And that's what you want. You want this little variation of color. At home you can take your time, and if you want to make your sand darker and put some shadows in, you can do that too. You can naturally put shadows in just by adding a little dark paint. If you put an object in and you want to add in shadow, you just add a little bit of dark paint underneath it, and that object will look like it has a shadow. And I think I just flung some paint over there. I'm sure my producer's going to love that, and we'll wipe that off the floor later. Oh, I just did it again. I'm sure some of you were right in about that. Me flinging some paint for fun, but there we go. Yeah, because I actually did it on purpose. There we go. All right, there we have some sand. All right, so let's see. I think that what I'll do now is I'll go on to the umbrella, and then I can always come back, and I'm going to put some wave movement in depending on time, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up the tape that I put on. And once we see that umbrella on there, we'll really get the perspective of the painting. Okay, so I'm just going to hold this and pull off this tape, and it's really stuck on there pretty good there. And I might be lucky enough to get it in one piece. Wow, that doesn't happen too often. There we go. So you can see I just peeled off that umbrella, all right? And I'm going to, rather than take the time to wash my brush, I'm just going to go and get a clean brush. Now at home I probably would wash it, but in this case it's just easier if I just get a clean brush for the sake of time. And I'm thinking, have some oil dripping, gonna just put some oil on my brush here. I think I may do the umbrella red and white. I have some Cadmium Red Deep here, beautiful color, Wilson Bickford, from the Wilson Bickford signature line. I'm using one of his nice new brushes, number 10 large flat brush, one of my favorite brushes. Just going to come in here and paint on. Now I'm staying away from that edge right now, okay? Just because I will probably end up pulling in some blue because I'm rushing a bit. So if I pull in some blue, that's okay. It'll just look like a little shadow. See, I'm going right up to that line, and there we go. There we go. So what I would do is fill in all of these, and red, white, red, white, red, white. Now, Janet's was a green. I just decided because of that vivid blue that I think that the red would really look pretty. All right, here we go. So I'm going to skip one. I'll come into the next one, and you can notice I'm going on the chisel edge and just going back and forth to try to get that paint on. I keep coming back to my palette in case you can't see it. I'm just coming back and getting more paint. Here we go. I'm going to rub it on there. And it's okay if it has some lining in there too. It doesn't have to be smooth. I'm just kind of rubbing along the edge there and filling this in. Now, I would maybe come back and put a little more paint, but I just want to get this lesson out to you so you can see how easy this would be. Here we go. Here's another red one. See, I'm kind of outlining where my pencil line is Either way you can do it. It's like coloring in the lines. Using the flat of the brush again. I can see it's getting a little dry, so I'll try to find a little more of that oil that was dripping around. Going back into my red and filling in. And then I'll do the other portions of this umbrella in white. Now, since I'm going fast, I'm hoping I don't pick up too much of that red and make the white pink. Okay, and that's not the worst thing. I would like to keep it a crisper white if I could. However, I may not be able to unless I start getting smaller brushes, and I don't want to run out of time. I want to make sure you can see the completed painting. Okay, so there we go. So I have some red on there, all right? I am going to rinse my brush out a little bit because now I'm going to a lighter color. So I'm just going to use my thinner in here. I'm going to dip the brush in, and here we go. You can see how much comes off. I'm dipping and then wiping, and that's the best way to clean your brush before you swoosh it around. Okay, my brush cleaning system has like a flour sifter in it, so it's very soft on the brushes. Okay, there we go. So I got most of that color out. Just going to get some of that thinner out there. Going to cover this back up again. Even though it's odorless thinner, it still has a little bit of a smell. All right, there we go. Now, I like the way that white looks, so I'm going to come into the white. This is pure white right now. I'm going to put a little bit, I'm starting in the middle. I'm going to try to stay away from the red just for now to see if I can, whoops, I just pulled some blue in there, just so I could get some of that white. I had some other pencil lines there from the first umbrella I drew in. You can see I could just paint right over that. So what I would do maybe is kind of put a little bit of heavier paint over there, okay? So I'm going to just go along the edge here without trying to get too much of that white in there. Like I said, at home you will work on covering. See, I'm just covering it. There we go. All right, so that takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, but anybody can do this. I'm just using the chisel edge of the brush up and down to get that white in there. All right, so I can go back to this and neaten that up in a bit if I have time. What I'd like to do is like to get a little bit of wave movement in there. But first, I forgot one over here. Let me get a little more white in there. Try to cover this up a bit. Come from the other angle. Let me come down so you can see a little better. Okay, so it just kind of neatened up. I still see a little bit of lines. So I would come in later and get rid of some of these little lines I have in there. So that's a pretty umbrella, very simple, okay? What I would like to do is, I'd like to just come in, put a few streaks in with this white, just to give this water a little wave movement before I come in and put in our beach umbrella stand there, okay? So what I'm doing is I just kind of drew on a couple there, and I'm going to take this is a mop brush, a 1-inch Wilson Bickford mop brush. I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit. All right. Now, in Janet's picture, she used a fan brush, and I'll just show you that too. So I'm just smoothing this a bit. I'll show you how the fan brush was used. She took a fan brush and came through the white, okay, and loaded the fan brush on both sides, tapped it a little bit, and she came in and she put some nice little wave movements, okay? This is a simple beginner way to do this. You just come in and you tap some white across, maybe smooth it out a little. Looks like little white caps in the water, okay? There we go. So I'll just put a few on there just to show you, all right? There we go. Some little wave movements. And it looks very pretty like this. And we can come down on the edge here, make a little foam, and this is the beginner way, just tapping in, tap, tap, tap. I'm tapping right over my line, and then you can just pull back. You just pull this back, so it looks like the water came in and then is coming back out again. Now, if it's not enough, you can go and you can see I just came in, loaded my brush again, pulling it back again. There we have some movement of the water. You can come in, put a little more wave movement, some foam patterns, depending on time. You can rub these out a little. So really this painting you can keep adding and adding depending on time, okay? So I'm just going to stand back a little bit and take a peek at it. And yeah, so far so good. Looks like a nice little beachy scene. What I'd like to do is I'm going to use a knife, a painting knife, to put in the, oh, I forgot what that's called there. When you put in the stand of the umbrella. So I'm going to take I think I'm going to use some Ivory Black. And I had a little blue in there, and that's okay. I'm just going to take a little bit of the brown, because I had some blue in there. So I want to go more brownish, but I want it to be dark, okay? So I'm just spreading it out with my knife. Very, very thin, spreading it out. Now you can see I have a big glop on the back of that knife, so I'm just going to rub that on a paper towel. Okay, so right now what I'm doing, if you can't see, I'm just rubbing it out on a paper towel. Now, it's pretty clean now. I'm going to come across here and cut across and get a bead. And I'm going to get a little bit of a wider bead. Okay, so there is my bead. Here we go. So if the middle is about here, I'll just pull this down right into the sand. All right, now in this case, since the umbrella is so big, I would want to make it a little bit bigger. So what I'll do is come next to it and put another line and try to make it big. All right, the other way, you can come in here and you can actually tap it and pull it across. However, on the angle I'm standing, I'm having a little trouble doing it. So I just want to show you how to do it. I'm just running this knife back and forth. And this is a way you can make it straight rather than using a script liner. Okay, so for a beginner, you would just rub this in. Okay, so looks like it's a little cracked right here. Sorry, I'm going to actually turn this way and put my knife down and try to open that up a little bit, make it a little wider. There we go. Okay, so I would try to be a little neater with that, but you can see there is the umbrella kind of leaning over. I can go back to the fan brush and just tap this in a little bit. Of course, I wouldn't do blue. Sorry, I didn't realize I had the blue on there. I would get a little brown and I would tap in, but you know what? That almost looks like a little reflection there. So look at that. We'll just go with that. And not a reflection, I'm sorry, a little shadow. Now, like I said, I would come in here and make this a little bit wider. The other thing what you can do, which is fun, is you can come on the side, okay, and you can put in maybe a broken fence. So you can have some of your fence posts. All I'm doing is rubbing them and rubbing them. Okay, so that could be like a broken fence on the side. So there's a lot of little things that you can do to add to a beach scene like this. And this, like I said, beginner beach scene. I'm dipping a liner brush in some turpenoid, and there we go. Making a thin paint, and I'll just come across and pull across like that, just to make a little bit of a broken fence on the side. So this is something that I would continue to work with and continue to add more into the beach scene, but this is a good way to get started. Like I said, I would make this a little wider, maybe even my beach should have been a little higher, but just to give you the idea of how to start to do a nice little painting like this. So I'd like to thank you all for tuning in today, and thank Janet for letting me use her umbrella idea. And I hope that you'll tune in again, and you can write to me at number 4, letter U, by Lucy @yahoo.com if you have any questions. And you can come in to my website, www.lucysworldofpainting.com, and you can come see me on Facebook. And here we go. So thanks again. I'm going to work for the next few minutes.